so hot here.
Oh,
Send some
don't
ice.
even.
Yeah. Send some ice.
Ready?
Hi. Hi. I'm sending you all the warmth from Kochi because we've got in excess over here and it's very hot, sweltering hot here.
Uh,
So,
just to make Nevin feel really good, I just showed him a glimpse of what it's like outside my window. It snowed all night, and it's still snowing, and it's predicted to snow all day. So it's a white
wow.
view I've got today, and it's not so much the snow, but it is absolutely freezing. It is very, very bitterly cold. We've got the weather from Russia that's come our way today. So yeah, that's why I've got my hoodie on as well today. No t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching the Premier League matches and all the commentators were saying the same thing. It's just insane over there. And, it's
Yeah,
very players.
a few years ago we had the storm that they called the beast from the east, and it actually stopped the country. It was that bad, and they're calling this one a second one. I know the southern parts of this country have had it much, much worse, but it's coming up the country, and we're going to feel it. Well, we're already feeling it, but to make me feel warmer, it's always good to start Monday talking to you, because you're always hot, you're always in a beautiful part of the world. I was going to say not India, but beautiful part of the world. So how's your week been? How's your weekend been?
Very good, eventful as usual. A lot of football beyond what we watch on the screen as well. I've been in talks with Oldham FC about probably working with them throughout the Kerala Premier League season and things like that. So
Well,
exciting times.
in a way, I'm glad you started with that, because I think we've talked quite a bit about the Kerala Premier League and how big football is there, and obviously your links to Kovalam. Just to share with our listeners and viewers, can you tell us a little bit about your links with Kovalam? Where are they, and what sort of a club they are, and about the Kerala Premier League, because obviously we know football is huge there. How competitive is it? Because you've got a couple of big clubs. Do they take part in it?
So starting off with the first question of my relationship with Football FC, I think the old listeners would have heard me talk about this club in our previous episodes, and I went there as a journalist, fascinated by the story, got really involved, started teaching kids, and they also liked me there, so they wanted me to come back all the time. So I sort of eventually started helping out with some of their social media content, some of their player registration and things like that. And now they want me as a team manager for the season.
Oh
So
wow! You're
just
taking the
clarifying,
ultimate job.
and then just clarifying that team manager is a little different from, say, a manager in an English club.
All
Here,
right.
the manager is about management and not taking calls on what happens on the pitch. It's
Okay.
the other, the rest. It's the coaching. Head coach is the one who decides what happens on the pitch. Team manager is for everything else, and they want me there. I'm still contemplating because it's still a very small club, and in terms of my finances, it might be a little tough for them to match what I earn. So we are in conversation. I really miss being part of the football team. My time at Minerva, for all my complaints, was probably one of the most fascinating times because I do get to work with footballers, young footballers, and there's a special joy in actually having actually working with them as opposed to sitting in the stands and writing about them. So looking forward to it. Coming back to your second question about Kerala Premier League and football in Kerala in general. Kerala Premier League is a disappointment. Let's call it that way. It's been shambolic in its management all the time. Year after year, you see teams dropping out. then extending the dates, which means like what was supposed to be a 3 months tournament gets becomes a 6 months tournament, and then it ruins the budget of all these teams. And because you have to afford a foreign player for 6 months, that's not easy for a lot of teams to do that. So yeah, they have ambitions, but I think it's an extension of all the failures that is associated with the state football association as well. So lot of things to be improved there, but you also see, say somebody like Jobby Justin, who plays for ATK Gujarat right now, was scouted through KPL. So
All right.
expect found him through KPL, and so there is potential. I think the scouts are slowly arriving. They're looking at these players, and also the two big guns, like you rightly pointed out, Gokulam and Kerala Blasters take part in this. For Kerala Blasters, this is the only trophy they've won, so it's a matter of pride as well. So I mean, the fans now, I mean, they want to make this an important tournament so that they can say, hey, we are KPL winners and all that. But a lot of problems, even including Kerala Blasters, for example, you can clearly see they're building a team for that specific tournament. And that's not good for players. You don't want players to be employed for 3 months a year and then they have to fight the other 8, 9. Suddenly my maths is gone all wrong. But like, suddenly you have to like fight the like 9 months, and yeah, it's a struggle, right? So they'll go out and look for other jobs. They want to do like part-time work. As footballers, you're not getting like full-time employment. And to see teams like Kerala Blasters or Gokulam Kerala resort to this sort of a very 3-month contract just for the tournament, and that's not good. I mean, I can understand why they do it because that's a lot of finances, and they're probably not earning enough. And this is an extension of what Parth Jindal said the other day, that all football clubs are making losses. But you would want a more structured system. You would want players being employed for at least 6 months, so that there is some continuity to the project as well. You want a lot of things to improve. There are talks of something called the Kerala Super League, which will be like the ISL and be like completely franchisee based. Because right now in KPL you could still have like departmental teams also take part.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's confusing to be honest. Every year they change the rules so much, and you would think Kerala, with all its potential, all its passion, that they can do better, and hopefully the Kerala Super League will kickstart, and hopefully I think the only way I see this take into another level is the fan pressure itself. So if the Kerala Blasters fans can also come to KPL tournaments, then this is going to change. They have massive following, but that doesn't really reflect when it comes to KPL. It's there for the ISL, but not necessarily for the KPL. If they take it up, like Zar Club and all the tournaments are important. If Gokulam fans also get in, and all the other young teams also bring in a crowd, then things will change. I think fan pressure, journalist pressure, all that pressure is the only way forward, and hopefully the federation will succumb to the pressure and we will see some improvement, because you see something like a Goa Pro League, so well conducted, so many players coming out of it. You have a system in like FC Goa wanting to pick up a lot of Calcutta clubs come there because they want to scout these talents. So why not do it for Kerala as well? And if you do it right, considering the difficulties Tamil Nadu state has been going through the last few years, no senior division football happening in Chennai, etc. You could also rope in a lot of these players, very talented players from Tamil Nadu for your leagues as well. So effectively, football also goes up, scouting also goes up. Teams can also earn more money if they can, sell players. It's a win-win situation for all, but you just don't see that intent coming from the federation. And mind you, I'm sure they have their own difficulties. I probably from my position don't understand it, but I'm sure they have their own difficulties as well.
I mean, that's an incredible insight into state level football. I know Kerala is slightly different in the sense that football is big there, but that's a really good insight into state senior division football. But it's a 3-month season. From what you're saying, the squad players
let me just clarify. This year specifically, they're hoping to conclude in 1 month.
Wow. Okay.
So it'll be like 2 divisions. There are 12 teams.
Right.
So 2 groups of 6 each. They'll play each other, and
Right.
the top two will play like semi-finals, and that's it.
Okay. And are the two divisions geographically split or just
Uh,
random?
no, as of now, from what I hear is that one will be Calicut and the other will be Malappuram, two different districts close to each other. And it really depends on districts wanting to take it up. So whichever district says we can do this and maintain something like bubble, I don't think a proper bubble will be possible, but something of a bubble will give all of them a competition and everything nearby. So it really depends on which district shows the intent.
And from what you're saying, Gokulam don't play any of the squad players from the I League, and same with the Blasters, they don't play any of their squad players from the ISL team.
Yeah, they play the reserve teams for these tournaments.
Right.
So they
Okay.
have a separate reserve team, and somebody like Gokulam and Kerala Blasters haven't for some strange reasons, but unlike Sahal did come out of KPM, Sahal did play there, and that was his sort of a start. But usually they use this as a good scouting setup as well. So you give them a small contract, see if the player improves, see the player up to the mark, and then sign him long term, which is fine. But you would think a bigger club would have a better scouting setup and
Yeah.
not really use the tournament to just scout it.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to talking about a lot more once it starts. And when is it due to start this?
It will be like March first week to March end.
Okay. And just to carry on with this topic at the state level, I mean, from an outsider, and I think I've said it to you before, the perception is the Calcutta Football League is probably the best state level or football league in India. But you've told me the Goa League is the best one in terms of talent and or organisation and.
So let's not. I'm not taking anything away from Calcutta League simply because it's huge. It's got
Yeah.
participation from some of the biggest teams in the country, and it's been around for such a long time. So
Yeah.
even a team like Tolligans or a Peerless, all of the good teams.
Mm.
I just think Goa Pro League is right now the best for like one. They've got good teams. Second, I think this is also something we discussed earlier. Is that I think right now Goa is a place to be in terms of football. So India is a mini subcontinent, like it's a subcontinent itself. So you have patches of players developing in different regions, and I think Goa is right now the best place for football. So it's not necessarily a reflection of Calcutta being bad. I just think that Goa is where
At the moment.
Yeah.
And do they have their teams, like Churchill and obviously FC Goa, and do they take part or are they local
Yeah.
teams?
Yeah, FC Goa, fields a reserve side.
Okay.
And I think Churchill is also there, but also let's not forget the fact that Goa's traditionally good teams like Tempo and Salkokar, Sporting, and all these teams are all still there, active in this space.
Right. I mean, that's a program in itself, isn't it? Looking at the various states and the senior divisions they have or don't have. I think I saw something on Twitter the other day, Madhya Pradesh, their senior division, which is good. I think it's good that they're making these starts in some cases, but it'll be good to reflect on some of the good leagues and the teams there, because like you said, some historical names, the ones you've just mentioned in Goa as well with Indian football. But your move into management brings me on to the talk about how you handle yourself as a manager. I know you're going to be different in a different role when I say manager, but I've got to start with the goings on at, well, not the goings on at Orisha Football Club, but the manager and what blew up after his post-match interview. And I have to say, I was shocked. I didn't see the interview because I watched the interview in the ISL YouTube part, and that part wasn't included, if my memory serves right. But obviously, I saw the interview elsewhere where he made those comments. And my first question to you is there any mitigation for him to come out with that straight after a game where your feelings and your adrenaline is still pumping, is still high? Is there any sort of mitigation for what he said?
No, right. Like I'm sure, but I mean, I don't think you need to ask me that. There's no room for such language anywhere. So whatever he is feeling, I understand he is angry, he's upset with the team, with the referees, with everything at the moment, but there's no coming out and saying these things. This is just, I don't want to say this is uncalled for or this is like absolutely, there's no, forget football. There is no space for such language anywhere else. So I'm surprised that I do see a lot of conversations on Twitter saying, he was feeling lost. Partly the blame should go on ISL referees. I can, like, ISL referees can be horrible, but you still can't resort to this language. There's a wall in between. There's nothing that justifies going to this level. And surprising coming from an experienced manager like that. Where is that language coming from? So I read something post his sacking where he talks about it, and he keeps telling, he's a father, he's a husband. Doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're trying to say. If you've said it, you've said it. Just accept the mistake. And I wasn't really happy with the way he sort of tried to justify it, saying it was the heat of the moment. If you are saying this in the heat of the moment, that means you've always used it. It doesn't happen like one fine day. You've always used this, and you've gotten away with it so far. So it's high time, especially as a senior manager and you manage big teams. You can't be doing this at any. So I'm in total agreement with Odisha there in terms of he doesn't deserve to be here in the country right now, regardless of the football that they were playing. So. I don't think a big fine would have just been enough. I think it had come to a point where it's so much damage, and you need to make a statement. You need to come out and say, no. I mean, this is as strong as racism or any other social cause that we're fighting for. So you need to come out and make a statement, and good on them to have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I started with that question is obviously his statement as well. And people often say, heat of the moment, and especially when you hear it when there's a racist element to somebody's comments or something like that. Oh, I just said it, but you must have used that in another environment. It's got to be in your vocabulary to come out with terms like that. So there's no justification to say, I've got friends of different races, or I've got a daughter and wife and what have you. I think that was it's not mitigation at all, and I think it's not something you would come out with in a normal conversation at all. And like you say, it's not acceptable in any form, not football, not politics, not anywhere, to say things like that, because it's an abhorrent act that's being committed when you mention something like that. And you've sort of answered my question in a way, in terms of did the punishment fit the crime, and you said it did. I agree with you. I think this was a really good act by, obviously it would have been Rohan in the end, to be fair. I think he would have made the ultimate decision, and to do it so quickly, not let it, sometimes you see a lot of places where something's happened and it takes days for them to catch up with the sentiment of what the action should be. So fair play to Rohan, he did it pretty much immediately. I know the club came out with a statement, saying how abhorrent the comments were. So I mean, that was a good sign from the football club, and I don't know, maybe a first to take such quick action against somebody. And let's face it, it's high profile. It's your manager.
And wouldn't have been also easy simply because I remember him telling us that they were signing Coach Baxter on a long-term deal. I think it was +1 deal. So the club was hoping, and they put a lot of trust in Coach Baxter. So to just take him out despite the results, I know he's just been having a very substandard.
It's a bad season, yeah.
It's a bad season, but despite that, I think they did think this was the person to go about, and so it wouldn't have been an easy decision, but good decision. And
with you, I agree. I feel for Rohan because we had the interview with him pre-season, and he was talking about at that stage signing a coach, and he liked one in particular. He mentioned, he didn't name names, but I think it's obvious now, and he put a lot of faith, like you say, in Coach Baxter, and the time to sack him would have been, a few weeks ago when January started and the team was
Yeah.
struggling, the results weren't there, but he backed him, he kept him. And I know I messaged him to say, stick with it, it'll be work a long time. So I felt for Rohan as well, because I think he personally um, stuck by Coach Baxter, put a lot of faith in him, persevered with him when other owners wouldn't have. So, I do feel for Rohan as well in that respect.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been easy, but like good on him to come out and have that.
And another coach that we talk about,
We love him. We love him here.
and I have to say, I'm going to put my other hat on as an NRI. We're not living in England, but do Indians hate English people? Is there something against the English?
Absolutely, absolutely. We hate him. Come on, like as if Robbie Fowler has made him very lovable, and he's like the most, most charming man out there. He just runs in like his blood boils for Indian football. Come on, like he has been digging his own grave. I'm just surprised it took so much time for something to actually happen. And yeah,
So you're saying the ISL isn't biased against English people? You like the Scottish and the Irish, but not the English.
of course, we hate things. This is why I him after 1947. Don't come back. No, but like on a serious note, I think he's not really helped this case. I think this is not a India versus England thing by any stretch of the imagination. This fellow's been coming here and just saying, "Oh no, Indian football is terrible. Oh no, I've got a shitty team that should be playing in I-League. Oh no, the referees are horrible. Oh no, Pratyam, you don't deserve to be an anchor. Do you know what it feels like to stand on the touch line?" He's been like on an attack from day one. This like this grumpy old man was brought in for like he didn't want it. He just did it for some money or something, and I don't know. Like for all this little niceness, nice things that we see on the football pitch, I think East Bengal is an improved side. There's no taking away from that fact. I think they are playing good football, but oh my God, he's been like appalling, and I'm not mincing my words at all. And yeah, I mean, is a 4-match ban justified? I don't. I mean, I don't know the rules, and I'm not one taking decisions as well. But maybe if he was a sweet person till that day, and if he had made the statement, maybe it would have been a 2-match ban. I have no idea. But I think whoever has been making this decision must be like, oh no, Mr. Fowler, now we've got you. We're going to put all those things on your head and give it a maximum ban as possible. And, yeah, I don't know what to say.
I mean, he's brought a lot of content to our show since he came to the ISL, and before when he was announced, he started giving his content. But this is a different side to Robbie that I'm seeing on a regular basis. Like you went through the list, and it's starting with the team that was made for the I-League, the standard of Indian players, the mentality of Indian players. Let's not talk about the referees, the media. There's not much that he likes. I wonder if he likes India at all. I don't know if he's. It's this his first time to India, because a lot of people go to India for holidays, and Goa is one of the most beautiful places in the country. He's got 5-star facilities there, but something's not working out for him. It's surprising the stuff he comes out with. He doesn't rate us at all, does he? I mean, it comes across he doesn't rate the football, the players, or anything like that.
The country. He doesn't rate the country.
Well, I was going to say that, but I was holding back. I'm glad he said it, but that was my thought.
Yeah, I don't know why he took it up. I don't know what was alluring, except the money, of course, because it wouldn't. I mean, when you saw the East Bengal project itself, he must have understood. Like, listen, this is a team made in a jiffy. It will have its problems. So, as a manager, aren't you well researched enough to understand? Okay, this is going to be a tough season. It's about survival, and it's about trying to secure a mid-table finish, perhaps get one win against ATK Montpellier. They're happy. That would have been a good season. But right now, I don't know. He came and then he felt like, oh no, this is not what I signed up for. I thought I was signing up for East Bengal, the legendary team. No, you need to look at the recent past as well. It's not been all rosy in East Bengal. Somehow scraped through the ISL, and yeah, it's been weird. I don't know why a lot of East Bengal supporters back him. It's just natural to back your manager. But at some point, I think you need to like distance and say, hey, listen. I mean, I get that you're our manager, but you're disrespecting the whole country, the whole football, which includes us, like which includes East Bengal, which is like, that club defines Indian football. So when you go on a scathing attack of Indian football, you're sort of like mocking my history as well. So it's a little confusing, but.
Because, like you say, if it wasn't for his comments, we'd be praising him. I think he's done, footballing wise, whether it's him or the coaching staff or the players themselves, let's give them credit. They're rising to the challenge. It's their first season. Like you said, it was, for want of a better phrase, a last minute put together team and not much preparation time. They've held their own in a way, but he's just taken away, for me, that shine with his comments and his anger and the way he comes across talking anything about Indian football or India, basically anything India related.
Yeah, but like I don't know if are there no like PR managers at East Bengal? Why were they allowing him to go on this attack one in the East Day? It was just PR nightmare one after the other. So it's a little bizarre. The entire setup is bizarre. But I hope I hope this is like a wake up call. I hope because somebody like a Fowler being associated with Indian football is always good. Like he's a legend as a player, and you want the eyeballs that they bring. You want the expertise as well. Like I know I've been going on a rant against him, but like it comes from what he speaks, not who he is or what he does on the pitch with his players. It's just what he speaks been written, and I hope he starts putting some sort of respect for the country, the football, and everything.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what he's like. When he's coaching, if he's like that in front of the media, there can't be a huge change when he's not in front of the media and he's with his boys coaching and what have you. But also the contrast between him and the other coaches, especially the Spanish coaches, and to be fair, the likes of Owen Coyle and Phil Brown, they're very respectful. They might hold back sometimes, not go overcritical when they could be, but they're very respectful of Indian players and the environment that they're in, and you just see the huge contrast. It is striking. I don't know, I've only been looking at the ISL for a couple of years. You've been looking at it from the inception.
I've never seen a manager this way, like whatever nationality it is. You've had likes of Roberto Carlos, Zambrota, Del Piero, Matt Cassie, all of them come here. So it's not like Robbie Fowler is the only big person who's come here and played football. These are probably bigger than Robbie Fowler from a world perspective. These are bigger players. So, and I've attended press conference with Materazzi, and he was not the easiest one. Let me put it out there. It's not the most easiest one, but he never came out and said these statements in Hindi. I don't know if it's because it was lost in translation. The guy who translating was making it more milder. He did look a little disinterested, but he went and like won titles with Chennai, and you could see they had like a lot of parity in terms of vision, in terms of football, in terms of style. So if all these players can come here and do it in an earlier stage when IS was just developing, Robbie Fowler's job should be much easier. So he can't be really complaining that everything's bad, everything's dead. He hasn't had to see the. He's not coaching a team in like say Real Kashmir, for example. That's a tough challenge, and you don't see that coach ever moaning about football. He's probably got like bomb blasts. He's had like snow throughout the year. He's faced all kind of internet lockdown, everything, and it really makes you wonder if Robbie Fowler is just like a spoiled child.
Well, yeah, that is a good comparison, but I'm looking forward to when he leaves and what he says afterwards on his time at.
I'm sure he's probably signed up with like a good publisher or like.
Yes.
Just like.
I can see a book coming on his experiences of Indian football. So if he's holding back anything, oh my goodness, what's going to be in the book or in his recollection of his time in India? But you mentioned, the contrast. But he is Scottish, I have to say. He's not English. In David Robertson at Real Kashmir, so I don't know if that's the reason. But I saw a fantastic. I've obviously seen the 2 documentaries on Real Kashmir, and I think even you sneaked into one of them, but I missed that. Yeah, that's a proper. He's what he's gone through to get that club, and he told us about what was there, which is pretty much nothing when he took the role on. And in that environment, yeah, fair play to David Robertson. I think he's probably going to be remembered forever at Real Kashmir, because coach's time obviously comes to an end eventually. But what he's gone through and what he's put in for his family and himself to put that club together and get it to a standard is absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I think not just the Real Kashmir Football Club, but in the Valley.
Yeah, and quite rightly. I think it's easy for us to talk about it because he's done it from Scotland. He had a cushy life in America, got this call.
I'll tell you my personal experience. When Minerva Punjab was going to play in Real Kashmir, in Kashmir, a lot of players didn't want to go. They were scared. A lot of footballers in the country didn't want to go. And when, as fascinating as a subject it is, me as a journalist, and I crave for such stories. And I'm super doubtful about it. So it wouldn't have been easy by any stretch of imagination. I am an Indian. I can walk into these spaces, and I know. I'm sure I can, use my Hindi, all those things to get some sort of access. I'm not distinctly North Indian also, so it's slightly easier for. That's a different, politics that very difficult from outside to understand. But nevertheless, with all my easy access, I still don't go there, despite really wanting to do these stories in the valley. Across JNK, there's a fascinating story in Leh Ladakh as well. I wanted to do a video interview with her, but it didn't happen because there's no internet. So maybe just text each other. We keep saying when she's in Delhi, we'll talk about Ladakh football. But there's so much there, but you was hesitant to go. So for somebody from Scotland, somebody who was apparently, one of those targets that Sir Alex could not get him to the club. He really wanted him at Manchester United, but he just refused to come. So you're talking about such a great person coming to the Valley doing this. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I've tried to search it on YouTube. I watched it on terrestrial TV here, the 2 documentaries on Real Kashmir, and fantastic insight. And I saw an interview with him last week in the I-League bubble, and he was talking about his experiences and what he had to contend with trying to coach a football team at the same time as living in those conditions where there's no internet and no family, and it's cold and the light goes. For an Indian, like you say, it's nigh on impossible, but for a Scottish person to come there and do that, fair play to him. He deserves all the plaudits he gets, absolutely. And I think he's got good owners who are backing him as well. So yeah, and it's a story in itself, Real Kashmir, that hopefully we can somehow manage to put together soon. But the contrast is huge between him. But I think that because he's Scottish, Robbie is English, so we'll leave it at that. But I was amused when he said Indians don't like the English. But let's leave that one there as well. A couple of things. Obviously, let's turn to what's been happening in the ISL, and it's really getting down to the business end, and it is very, very tight now for the 3rd and 4th places. But before we get to that, I just wanted your comments on a couple of signings that took me by surprise, and fair play to ATK, they did both of them. And Lenny was one player from Goa, and Marcelino from Orissa, 2 big names being taken up by ATK at a crucial time. Were you surprised by that, especially the Lenny one from Goa going to a rival playoff team? This wouldn't happen here. We just had an example last week. There were rumours, and you don't know if there are any more than that, that we wanted to sign, Leicester, Maitland-Niles from Arsenal, but Arsenal didn't want him to go to a rival team that was at their level, so they sent him to West Brom. But Were you surprised with that signing, loan signing for
Yeah.
Lenny? And why did it happen? Why did Goa
Lenny
let?
is Lenny is not a loan signing. So what happened is that Lenny terminated his own contract and signed something new with 80k. So he
Oh
just
right.
signed. Yeah, he terminated his own contract that was ending at the end of the year. So so there is nothing Goa could have done to prevent the signing. So it works that way. It was surprising that happened because Lenny is like a Goan legend and this is his home team. So you wouldn't have expected Lenny to do that, but I'm assuming there was a lot of talks. FC Goa is clearly building a team for the future, so you have the likes of Princeton, everybody sort of occupying their spaces. Lenny was a favorite under coach Lovera. He was also moved out. A lot of his teammates went to City, Mumbai City. So the likes of Mandar, all of them are now in Mumbai City. So he probably thought this is probably the best time to cash in. This is probably his last big paycheck, or maybe one other contract he can possibly get. So he signed I think an 18-month deal with 80k, which is obviously going to be good money. 80k or 80k. I mean, these are you were so sort of starting to see identities in Indian football. 80k wants seasoned footballers perhaps at their peak, while FC Goa wants to invest in youth and develop players and players. So these are all clear strategies. So I'm assuming there was sort of a showdown at FC Goa office where Lenny also talked, and Lenny probably asked for guarantees, and FC Goa couldn't give any sort of guarantees in terms of either money or playing time and things like that. And so I don't think this is necessarily a bad decision for anybody involved.
Really?
Lenny gets to play in a good team. And mind you, look at FC Goa, they're very clever. They signed Amarjeet. He's young, he's already an Indian national player. He's already started, he's already playing for them. So it didn't even take a lot of time for him to settle in. And they also signed Glenn Martins. He's also that destructive, midfield player. And he's also from Goa, so that's an added benefit. He's come back home. So it's not like FC Goa got really defeated. In fact, I would say they replaced Lenny with a younger player with probably a higher ceiling. He's not reached there, for example, for sure, but this is a player that Sunil Chetri thought should be leading the Viking club when India played the national team match. So Amarjeet is clearly future, and FC Goa, I think, might struggle right now, maybe a couple of matches because Lenny is a strong presence, a very experienced presence. But in the long run, I think they've done very clever piece of business. So it's not necessarily what you look from outside and think, oh no, they've lost a key player. They've also signed Dheeraj in the summer, so in the winter rather. And sorry, it looks like summer from my window. So
Yeah, rub that in.
and so Amarjeet is coming, Dheeraj is coming, Plan is coming. So it's not like FC Goa is free. So they're clearly looking to build another team, a team that can take over the league for the next 2 years. And I think at the end of the day, 80k gets a seasoned player, FC Goa gets a young player. I think it's good.
I'm surprised with the timing. I know you talk about building for the future and good deals, considering they've got a younger player, but it's just the timing when the playoff is still in doubt for Goa that you would let him go to a rival. Obviously, if he was going to leave, he was going to go for one of the big teams in India. If he was going to stay in India, but I know you've talked a lot about Lenny. You really rate him, so that's what surprised me. The timing. I totally understand the issue around Amarjeet, and they've got a good deal with Martins and what have you. But it's just where we are in the season. You would wait until another 3-4 weeks, see where you are, or maybe if you haven't got a chance of getting into the playoffs, then it's maybe too late to do any signings, obviously. But also the fact that you can. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just saying that in this case, when somebody decides to break a contract, there's nothing you can do with that. So I don't know if FC Goa wanted him out necessarily. He just had an opportunity to go to 80k, get better money, better playing time. Probably he thinks that if he plays in 80k, he'll get like a national team thing. Because Lenny is one player who's not made it to the national team. So he'll probably want to, before retiring, play for the national team regularly. And so, fair play. Lenny also probably looked at Habas and thought, Habas' system is something that suits him better than what is happening in FC Goa. So all these things, we don't know what happens inside of football teams so much. But we can
Yeah.
obviously make assumptions.
But I think one thing you can say that I don't think Goa are overly upset because they didn't make a big deal about him breaking this contract, terminating his contract. So you can see that maybe in the background, everybody, like you say, feels it's a win-win. But I think it's a definite win for ATK at this crucial stage of the season when they're trying to close the gap with Mumbai City. But the other one was Marcelino, a big name for Mauritius, big expectations, and you saw as soon as he started playing for ATK, that's the player Mauritius signed. It's amazing. It must have been something must have happened in the background where he couldn't get a game for Mauritius, for obvious reasons. He wasn't
So
performing.
I don't know if it's Coach Baxter. I don't know if it's the set of players around him being young and probably not as as good as the team that ATK has. But whatever be the reason, Marcelino has been a charisma in Indian football ever since he came played for Delhi Dynamos all those seasons back. He's extremely talented, that left foot of his, and I mean, ATK probably doesn't see him as like a regular starter because they've got so much squad depth. They've got so many up there, and probably like a stopgap solution than a long-term team. And Marcelino also must be thinking that's how I played my time here in Indian football. I've just gone short-term contracts with small clubs and earn my money and move. So he also probably thought this is good. Odisha thought him off the payroll opens up opportunities for them as well. They got a player in return. So I mean, it's just Marcelino being Marcelino. Nobody knows his family. One day he's extremely talented, one day he's lazy.
Well, in the couple of games I've seen him for ATK, he's extremely talented.
Yeah, and extremely hardworking. So
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people were questioning his ability to really run around. He's been working really hard. So his coach Habas probably said really mean stuff to him in a language that he understands. So maybe I don't know what changed, but clearly the desire is back in Marcelino, and a pumped up Marcelino is such a joy to watch. So
Yeah.
good.
And the other thing, a strange thing is, in this bubble environment, you're not going to get away from your old teammates. I mean, you're going to see them around. That could be awkward, but obviously, I mean, they played Orisha soon after, didn't they? And you can see them. The players still get on with. Players always do, don't they? They understand. But moving on to the I-League, ISL as well. Sorry, Freudian slip there. We're getting to the business end. Top two are confirmed. But do you think it's 3 from 2 now, or do you think it's Bengaluru are still in it? Never write off such a big team, despite the run of games they've had and the results they've had.
I mean, I can't. Knowing Indian football, I couldn't write off any team. So we've seen miracles happen all the time. And if you see, it's not just Bangalore. I think teams below also have like a realistic chance since we've got like four games remaining, 5 games remaining for most teams, if I remember right. So, they say, impossible is nothing. But realistically speaking, I think these 3 teams are in a good run of form. You expect Northeast to falter, right? I think somehow we were like, okay, I mean, yeah, good performance, but like maybe they can't match in the next in the upcoming game, and then they matched it. College and get to lose very good, right? So that's like 2 or 3 victories, and then a couple of draws as well. So it's a team in form, but you would still think FC Goa and Hyderabad, considering how they played throughout the season, are favourites. But all 3 teams are in the reckoning, and it would be a very big surprise if FC Goa and Bangalore miss out, because I think both of us were considering them as favourites to be in playoff when the season started. So hence I want that to happen, because I want. I mean, from a neutral perspective, it will be much more fun to have Northeast and Hyderabad. Hyderabad just play. So.
Yeah, that's my. I was just about to. I couldn't see the bottom. I don't know if it was a Dortmund shirt or but it's a Hyderabad shirt. It's one of those teams that I think it'd be good if those two would get in would be ideal. I mean, when you look at the last 4 games, BFC have got the tough finish. They're playing Mumbai, Goa, and they've got 80k as well in the last 4 games. So that's not going to be an easy run for them to put a winning streak. But when you look at Northeast, they've got Odisha, Chennai, East Bengal, and the Blasters. And you can see getting the way they are. I mean, you can never say how these games are going to go because, like you say, anybody can beat anybody almost on their day in the ISL. But Northeast have got a good run in, and if they can get a couple of wins on paper, yeah. But I think it'll be good if Hyderabad and Northeast or one of them get in for Indian football. I think it'll be really, really good. By the way, have you got a Northeast shirt?
Sorry?
Have you got a Northeast shirt?
No, I don't know where to get it from. Like, obviously I would buy one, but I just don't know where to get it from. I've been looking online. And if somebody from Northeast is listening, maybe you want to send us, a jerseys because we would give it. I really want one. I've been trying from the last season. So I went to the Maker website. So they didn't have it, and then I went to a couple of shops that sell that brand. They also don't have it. It's I don't know why the merchandise is not really out there these days. But
if any of the Highlanders are listening, please send a shirt to Kerala. DM us or DM at Nevin, and I'm sure you can make that happen so you can wear the shirt.
I don't want a free shirt or something. I'm happy to pay. I just want a source where I can
you can get it. Hopefully somebody listening will be able to sort something out for you, and we'll put the message out there. Fantastic. So a lot to look forward to, but in terms of the ISL, it's building up, the business end coming to a conclusion. We look forward to seeing who can join Mumbai City and 80k in the playoffs. But here in the English Premier League, I think it's done and dusted. What do you think?
Yeah, the squad depth is so good for City that there's no Kevin De Bruyne, and they're not even missing it. Gundogan has now become like Kevin De Bruyne light and like scoring all those goals and so well oiled. I was having a good long conversation with a lot of fans today morning, and like I've always been supportive of Pep. I love him, but like a lot of people would call him a bald fraud and things like that, and I would really get irked when a lot of people say, "Oh, he just buys a team" and things like that. I'm like, if you're the best in the world and if you have a management that allows you to buy the best in the world, why would you not? Why would you want Pep Guardiola to go to Leeds and prove? He might do it later in the stage, but he's right now the best in the world, and he has owners that are willing to back him up. Why would you not do it? And it's not easy to just spend, like Lampard on it. It's not just just buy a lot of players and suddenly get results. And I think this season especially, I've been so proud of Pep in terms of how he swallowed his pride and concentrated on his defense. And suddenly you saw John Stones and everyone improve. And by the way, I wanted Stones to be signed by Chelsea in the summer. A lot of people are like, "Do you even watch football?" I always thought he was a brilliant footballer. I just, Guardiola's very advanced kind of football didn't suit him. Like that's. But now he went to the basics. They're very defense strong. They hardly concede a goal, right? I mean, even that goal was an uncharacteristic mistake from Diaz. It's not very normal.
Yeah.
Fair play to Pep. He's reinvented the side, and now I think they're out there. I think. I know United are playing really good football. I know the likes of Leicester and a couple of other teams also play good football, and then they disappear for one match. And you don't become champions by disappearing. You have to consistently.
It's week in, week out. And you're not a great manager unless you put this year in, year out. And I get frustrated when people say the same things about Pep. He gets all the big signings and what have you. To put yourself through to managing the top teams and have those expectations in your head, it takes a special brand of manager to take that on board. I mean, obviously Barcelona was his own club. That's a different story. But then going to Bayern and then coming to Man City, knowing the expectations, because you can have all the money in the world, you still got to gel a team. As Frank found out, it's not easy. You still got to win trophies year in, year out, and Klopp is finding that out. That's not easy. So, I'm
just saying that, you can have great 11 players, but like it has to fit in a system. And the way say City moves the ball around, how can you not find joy in that? It didn't come from the fact that they're 11 footballers and they if you just put them on the pitch they'll start passing each other and scoring. It doesn't work. It's a lot of work in training grounds, a lot of thought, a lot of tactic goals. So
But I think even though he gets these big signings, I think he actually improves the players. I think he's one of those coaches that improves players.
Yeah. Look at Sterling, for example. I
Yeah.
think Gundogan is now playing the best football in his life.
Foden.
Fullbacks, Foden. I thought Walker was a very average player till he went to City and then he became like this, and amazing.
Incredible right back, yeah.
Yeah.
Changed his game.
Cancelo is now looking like best fullback, one of the best fullback in the world.
Yeah.
All of
And
these
yes.
players.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
No, I'm saying that he's gone out and proven this over time and again that he's a coach that improves footballers. I know a couple of footballers don't really make the cut. There are even accusations that he's slightly racist and he didn't support Yaya Toure and all those accusations out there. But listen, I mean, I don't know. I have nobody to comment on if he's racist. If they've had that kind of experience, and let's not reduce it or take it away from them. But what you and I see, he seems like an amazing coach. He does this again and again, and he finds the best in the world. Nobody can tell me to go to a league, do like a Bielsa. I'm sure Bielsa would like to manage City, but City is not going to hire him.
No.
So let's accept that as well. You need to prove and you need to show that you can work with the best players in the world also. So in terms of good players and good managers, I think for me Carlo Ancelotti is right up there. I think he's done it. He's one of the players who can manage big egos. I don't think Jose Mourinho can have this. I mean, he needs his type of players. He needs those, he is happier with an Aspilicueta than a Cancelo. So again, it's about coaches and a management style. But he wants that dogged performance, and he wants those players who put their hearts on the sleeves and play it out there. But with Pep, I think the range is much more bigger.
Yeah, and to top it all, the cherry on the cake is the brand of football he loves and implements, and we see it year in, year out. I know he's toughened up the defence, but they're still good to watch. They're not the Mourinho defensive team, but I agree with that. So the league is pretty much done and dusted here with about 12-13 games to go. So we'll just see who's going to fight for the Champions League.
Chelsea are slowly catching up.
Yeah, Tuchel is becoming a firm favourite now already, is he, after a week in charge? So we'll see once he gets into the grind. I think everybody's allowed a honeymoon period, but if he can get Werner scoring, then maybe he is making a difference. But I'm going to hold my judgment on him, especially not this year. We'll see how he gets on next year and see what.
Realistically speaking, Chelsea are not so far away from the Champions League spot. So
I think they'll get into the Champions League places. I think they're good enough. They're good enough, and I'll be very surprised if they're not in that category. But it will be tough. It'll be very close. I'm just hoping my boys don't.
Fighting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. West Ham are there, and they're everybody's not talking about West Ham. I know you asked the question, but they're coming in quietly. Churning out the results. Appalling decision, by the way, VAR on that one. Suchek's sending off, but that's a topic for another day. But fantastic. This hour has flown by, and it's allowed the snow is continuing here. So this is what I've got to look forward to. I mean, it's good to look at, but not to go out in. But you've got a better view than I have, no matter what.
Wasn't it Shelley who said, who wrote, if the winter is here, can spring be far behind?
In England now, you hardly differentiate between the 4 seasons. England's famous for having all 4 seasons in a day, so it's not that much. I mean, the days get longer, so it's not dark as often. That's the one positive. So yeah, well, hopefully we'll have a decent summer. That's the one thing that's getting us through this, and obviously the vaccination. But we've not talked about that, which is a good thing. But
It's a football only show for now.
yes, let's keep it that way. Brilliant. As always, brilliant talking to you. Brilliant insights into the Kerala State League, and we'll talk about that more as well as and your career in management as well, and see what the pressures bring to you as well. So thank you
I'm
again.
already losing hair, so I'm going to like click a screenshot or something, so that there's like a comparison now.
Before and after, yes. Have a before and after the season. We'll see if football does have that sort of an impact. But fantastic, Nevin. Brilliant as always talking to you. And you stay safe, and we'll catch up again as always very soon.